Hello my lovelies and welcome to today's video. I'm here to wrap up the final couple of books that I read during April, so here we go. But first, if you haven't seen the first part that's already on the channel, I'll link it in the cards for you. Want to get around to it? If not, have a little scroll, it's not too far on the channel. Right, let's kickstart, shall we? Starting off with Spy X Family Volume 4 by Tetsuya Endo. Master Spy Twilight is unparalleled when it comes to going undercover on dangerous missions for the betterment of the world. But when he receives the ultimate assignment to get married and have a kid, he may finally be over his head. This volume I gave a 5 out of 5 stars, which I think is pretty similar to the other volumes that I've read so far. Again, it was another brilliant edition. It was a different experience, as this time I was ahead in the anime, and if you don't know, I've been kind of reading a couple of volumes and then checking out the anime and kind of just doing it like that. But yeah, I still really enjoyed seeing the Forger family look for a dog to join their home. The little extra missions were really funny too, and also just a little tidbit, it worked really well in the anime. Next up, I finally finished this outstanding buddy read. Outstanding in both ways. One, it was just a book that was on my radar for so long, like physically currently reading for so long, and not even always currently reading it. But anyway, two, it was an outstanding book. It was brilliant. Is An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson, and we are following a student who will find that the hardest lessons sometimes come outside the classroom. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and I am planning to do a separate review video, so do keep that in mind and I will post as soon as I can. Moving on now, this is a book that I have a lot to speak about, but I do have extra thoughts and stuff already written down on Goodreads and Storygraph. But this is The Witch and the Tsar by Alessa Salnikova-Gilmore. The maligned and immortal witch of legend known as the Baba Yaga will risk all to save her country and her people from the Tsar Ivan the Terrible and the dangerous gods who seek to drive the twisted hearts of men. I gave this one a 3.5 stars, so I'll just kind of include a little brief bit of thoughts and leave maybe the more detailed to another video, or just to read through at your leisure if you'd like to. Anyway, this was a gorgeous audiobook. I did listen to this instead of reading. It was narrated beautifully and with all the whimsy and brutal elements that I love from Slavic folklore, myth and legend. However, despite enjoying listening to the story as an experience in many ways, I think that the overall experience I had suffered for that. It's really confusing, so let me explain. I think I would have had better luck had I tried to keep up with the physical book alongside listening to the story as I'd intended. I had the physical book out from the library as well as the audio version through BorrowBox, and I wanted to do a bit of blended reading. But I think I just opted for, at the time, what was the more simpler route, that I could just eat through the book the quickest, and I started to become overwhelmed with how many current reads I had on the go. So I was just like, yeah, let me just return the physical book and listen to the story. So I think because there was so many bold characters, and again they use honorifics and wordings of names that in England at least we don't have it phrased that way, so I think I just needed to see it on the page, and it's been a while since I've read any kind of like Slavic story, folklore, so my brain wasn't like reset into that way of thinking, you know, so I think I just needed to see it on the page. In terms of the story itself, I loved that we got a feminist spin on the legend of Baba Yaga, and you got to see her not as like the disgruntled, dismissive old hag that she's always represented as, but as a woman behind that, one that had a childhood, a destiny, but also a life of her own that she wanted to lead, and people that she loved and wanted to protect. She was a force to be reckoned with, such a strong character. But yeah, if you would like a fuller review, definitely check out the description because I've got links to my Storygraph and Goodreads. Formula Volume 2, I spoke about Volume 1 in the first video. This is probably going to spoil a little bit of what happens, so definitely skip if you want to, but it's in the blurb, like I'm just going to read the little bit of what's in the blurb. But yeah, this is Volume 2, The Stonekeeper's Curse by Kazi Kibushi. And Emily and Navin's mother is still in a coma from the arachnopod's poison, and there's only one place to find help: Canalis, the bustling, beautiful city of waterfalls. This one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a very good follow-up, still very enjoyable, but it lacked the excitement and I guess the novelty of the first book for me. The storyline did progress nicely, but not so much that I feel like I'll end up sticking with this series for the long haul. I reckon I usually give things like 3s. That's like my favorite number, so I reckon I'll read at least 3 volumes to decide whether I'm fussed about continuing on to the end or not. But either way, it's an enjoyable series. It just hasn't hooked me in this second one. Next up, The Thicket by C.M. Harris. When Jane and TJ agree to attend their high school reunion, never expect to come face to face with their classmate turned stalker Lincoln the moment they return home. This one, unfortunately, I DNF'd at 42%, so I got a good chunk of the way through. But yeah, I don't really have much to say for this one, other than I was expecting some strange and eerie atmospheric writing, potentially lean into the supernatural, as it's described as being like is it Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects meets Stranger Things. And at 42% in, I feel as if I should have had at least a little more than a glimpse of that, and I feel like I just didn't. So yeah, I decided to not continue on with that story. And lastly, to wrap up this video, I read Generation Queer by Kim Toppin. This is about activism, art, community care and education. These are the hallmarks of the work done by the youth highlighted in this collection, featuring LGBTQ plus leaders working to make our world more inclusive. And it does focus on youth and youth-led opportunities and organizations. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. So I want to say thank you very much to Hear Our Voices for a digital copy and to take part in the digital book tour at the end of May. So definitely keep an eye out on my post over on Instagram. Of course, all opinions remain my own. Reading this, I couldn't help thinking that it felt like the real life project that Dawn was working on in, funnily enough, another Hear Our Voices book tour book that I was reading for, called The Queer Girl Is Going to Be Okay. I loved how visual this was, especially in the illustrations and the timelines. For example, the LGBTQIA plus people in courts and government, and self-care and community care examples. It was just nice to kind of break up text with a more visual description, I guess. Despite the little fact boxes sometimes feeling a little disjointed to what was being shared in the main body of the text, I really appreciated the emphasis that we had on intersectionality, particularly where ethnicity and disability come into the conversation in relation to sexuality. So overall, that is my thoughts and feelings of the remaining couple of books that I read during April. Of course, let me know if you've read any of these yourselves, what books you were reading during the month, any highlights, anything you'd recommend. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.